Hello, everybody. It's Julia Hummingbird Jewel. How are you today? I am so excited. This is my first Facebook Live broadcast for the new books review show called Book SOUL-utions, and it's a book review show for mind readers. And I am so excited. It's my first show, and just hoping you're going to enjoy it. It will be every Tuesday, 2 o'clock Central Time, and I'm able to use the platform of 1 million meditators. Thank you, Anita Morale. And I wanted to speak to 1 million meditators because we're so excited. We're having our 2-year anniversary. And what's really great is that we're doing something a little different this time. We're kicking off on the 21st, which is International Peace Day, and we're having a whole week of meditations and shows similar to this one, where our ambassadors, like me, have conscious businesses, and we're going to utilize our platforms to share with you what we do. And it's just going to be amazing. So a whole week before the 28th, which is the day of our normal meditations. And for those of you that may not be familiar with 1 million meditators, because this show will be converted over to YouTube. I have a new YouTube channel under Hummingbird Jewel. 1 million meditators was founded by Anita Morale when she was at a meditation retreat. And she received a global intention to bring together 1 million people to meditate. And our global intention, I have to say this right, I love myself and the planet. And it spoke to me so significantly because it's such a pure premise. And self-love is such an important concept, and it's non-denominational. And we've just been on this roll every 2 months, gathering more and more ambassadors and more broadcasts each time. So we're so excited about this 2-year anniversary. Okay, so back to our show. And hello, everybody. Hi, Ben. Hi. How are you? Thanks for watching with me. Okay, so what this show is, my intention of this show, and even we'll see how it grows, is books have been a major influence in my life. I started reading at an extremely early age. In my 7, 8, 9 years of age, I would bicycle down to the library, and I focused mainly then on fantasy. Like I read all the Wizard of Oz books. Frank Baum has like 12 books. And then I was kind of into like the Twilight Zone. Rod Serling had an amazing book. I remember checking out a lot of fantasy books when I was younger. And then in my teens, I started really searching. And so they have been like my education. So I have these books that I've kept with me all my life. And a couple of years ago, I got rid of a lot of cases of books because I just move around a lot. I was raised in Northern California. I moved to the Bay Area, then I moved to Colorado, then I moved to Texas, and within Texas, I moved several times. So after you haul around books for a while, and then with the advent of computers where you could store your books on a computer, I got rid of a lot of my books at a secondhand bookstore. But there were some books that I just could not get rid of. Like I had to keep them. So it's my intention to share some of these oldies because I'm kind of an oldie, but goodies, books that influenced me when I was really, really young. And then also I want to bring on people that I know that have books that, that I want to bring them to light and bring them on the show. And I do have a special guest, which I will tell you about at the end of the show, who will be coming on next week. So if you have written a book and you want to be on my show or featured, you don't have to come on live if you don't want to. Some people are behind the screen kind of people. Please send me a comment, send me an email, get a hold of me. My email's in the notes, or it's hummingbirdjewel@yahoo.com. You can pretty much search Hummingbird Jewel and find my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, my Instagram. Well, just Hummingbird Jewel. My name's Julia Rodgers, but Hummingbird Jewel, you'll get to me. But yeah, if you have a book and it's a soul-worthy book, a book that touches our souls, please let me know. And then if I get too many people wanting me to review their books, which would be great, I'm just going to like choose it from a hat, pick names from a hat. So that way nobody's really, not picking one person over another. Okay, so there's questions that I kind of was thinking about. What books feed your soul? Like, what are some of your favorite books that really touched you, really made your heart, think? Our hearts are very intelligent, and they make us feel, and they make us think. And, what fed your soul? And what expanded your soul when you read that book? I'd really like to hear from you what some of your favorite books were. And then when I speak and I say this book is alive, what does that mean to you? If I said, oh, I love this book because it's alive, what does that mean to you? So I just kind of wanted you to think about that, because to me, some books are truly alive. So, and sharing some of my very personal and favorite authors, I get incoming messages. I am a psychic. I do spiritual readings, and as well as other things. I'm a little bag of beans here. People go, what does she do? What is Hummingbird Jewel Enterprises? Well, I do spiritual readings, I do healings, I do teach meditation. It's an extremely important part of my life. It's like food to me. So I received the message. I'm like, what should I start? What opening book should I start with? And it was easy. And this book is called Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Okay, talk about an oldie. So it was 1973. I think I was around 14. I have to do the math on that. When I read Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Richard Bach wrote this book, B-A-C-H. And I remember reading that he tried to publish this book, so many different places, and nobody would pick it up. And I kind of understand why now, because back in the 70s, some of the concepts in this little treasure of a book were pretty big. And for me, my story in my life, I had a little bit of spiritual upbringing. When I was like 5 and 6, I went to Christian church. I was singing Jesus Loves the Little Children. I had a concept of Jesus in Christmas. And then my mother decided to tell me that God wasn't real, that Christians were not just wrong, but evil. And she told me that the Bible wasn't real, Jesus wasn't real. And so it was kind of pulling that rug out from underneath me, and kind of like, when you find out that Santa Claus isn't real. I hope there's no children listening to this. Santa Claus really is real. But, it was hard for me. And so I had to find my own concept of God. Excuse me. So I believe, for me, when I read Jonathan Livingston Seagull, it had some pretty broad concepts in it. When one was reincarnation, he doesn't exactly say that in the book, but at one point in the book, he transcends, and is greeted by these glowing seagulls. And so, and then and he's told that, wow, it takes thousands of lifetimes for normal seagulls to get to the place that you've got so quickly. I mean, that's a pretty big concept for someone who, was not raised with any kind of spiritual background. I mean, I didn't even know what reincarnation was at that point. But I think in this book, in Jonathan Livingston Seagull, in the beginning of the book, the seagull wants to do more than a scrounge for food. And he wants to fly. And all the other seagulls are saying, hey, we don't do that. We just scrounge for food. If you want to do anything outside that, you're going against the rules, against the societal rules. So, of course, Jonathan, went against the societal rules in his seagull flock, and he got ousted. So when I was growing up, I had spiritual gifts, right? And I had out-of-body experiences. I had psychic premonitions. I was manifesting, but I didn't have anybody to speak to about it. And then, the adults are like, well, dreams are not true. It's just a dream, or you're making that up. So they kind of squash you, and I don't think they do it on purpose. I really don't. And just like my mother wasn't evil telling me that there was no God, her mother had gotten taken advantage of by some evangelistic people and took her money. And so it upset my mother, right? So, I mean, nobody does anything to you. It's just what happens. And so anyway, these kind of concepts for me made me feel alienated and different, like Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And it's not that I wasn't bullied or anything. I was just felt different and from the rest of the crowd. And trying to fit in is not easy. And I did that for many, many years. I didn't come out as a psychic till just 2 years ago because I was afraid. I was afraid of people ostracizing me. And guess what? Not one person has. Not that, it won't happen, but, I just want, the young people and children to let them be who they are, and let them fly. Want to fly in a little different direction. And I think that's why this book touched my heart so much, why I could not give it up when I turned in cases of books. And this one I had to keep. But I gotta tell you what happened yesterday, because I just put this show together yesterday and I came up with a name 2 days ago. So I'm winging this show today. I hope it will get just better and better, especially when it's more than just me talking. We'll have guests on. Oh, well, I Googled, the book, the author. I wonder if he's even still alive, in what are the reviews on this book. And you know what I found out? There was a new chapter added to it. What? I'm like, I look at the book. Yeah, I only have 3 chapters. So it was first published in 1970, sold a couple of million copies. And then it was 2013, the author had a near-death experience. He was flying his plane, crashed, got in a coma. It was pretty bad. And I thought, well, he must have already had the 4th chapter written, and he had. And so I just wonder if it was a little too much to add to the book at the time in 1970. But in 2013, he probably just thought, hey, what the hey, I'm adding it, because who knows what's going to happen. And so there's a new Jonathan Livingston Seagull book with a 4th chapter. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to review a book that I haven't even read the whole book? So I downloaded it on Audible. And yes, I love Audible, and I do like Kindle too. I don't have to carry around cases of books. However, there are some books I just have to have. I have to have the paper. Anyway, so I heard actually the Audible of the 4th chapter. So I have and I'll put it on my Facebook page too, which is open to the public. There's a link to my Facebook page. So if you want to buy it, you can just click the link. But isn't that interesting? And maybe y'all already knew that there was a 4th chapter added to this book. I didn't know that, and it was amazing. But there's a lot of different concepts in this book, I think, that really touch people, not just, going outside of society's realms and being different, but it teaches about love and it teaches about forgiveness. There are just so many concepts in this book that are so simple, and it's told from the point of seagulls. And, keep working on love, is one of the messages. And my message is to teach love by being an example of love. That's my life mission. And when I was re-listening to this book, I listened, read it when I was 14. I believe I reread it one other time, and then I listened to the Audible a couple of years ago. When I love a book, when a book is alive, like this book is alive, it will mean different things to me at different times. Another way that I feel a book is alive is when you can just open it and it will give you a message. It's pretty wonderful that way. But to teach love by being an example of love is my life mission statement. And, of course, when I ask for that mission statement, like, why am I here? You get that to that point in your life, and then I'm like, okay, I know my mission statement. Well, how do I teach love? By example, even. How does a person go about doing that? When you ask the right questions, things come to you. Being an ambassador for 1 million meditators, what a way to teach love by example. I can't think of a better way to do that. So, meditation is just an amazing way, and to teach people to meditate, to encourage them. It's a wonderful way to teach love. And then another thing about Jonathan Livingston Seagull is he goes to the afterlife. There's a point in the book, I don't want to tell the whole story, but where he's escorted by 2 glowing seagulls. He goes to a different realm. He goes to the afterlife. So I can only imagine in my little 14-year-old raised atheist brain how I was processing that, and how I was processing that, when they told him, wow, it took you thousands of lifetimes to get to where, it took us thousands of lifetimes and you just catapulted. And then he goes back into the earth and teaches other Jonathan Livingston Seagull types to fly also, because there was other seagulls that were kind of branching out. And isn't that kind of what life's about? As we get older, we want to spread our knowledge and our joy and our wisdom and lift others up. I can't think of anything that's better than that. I can't think of any amount of money. When I think of abundance, when I think of success, I was talking to my partner and he's like, well, what do you think success is? And I said, well, success for me is not about, what kind of car I drive or house I live in, although I have a wonderful lifestyle now. And I came from the other side of the track, so I appreciate that completely. But success to me is, have I changed the life of somebody else? And hopefully I can change the lives of a lot of different people. To me, that's being successful. And I think this little book is a treasure in that way. So I don't know how many other of you really love Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And when the last time that you have read it. If you haven't ever read it, it's a cute little book. It's a short read. It's easy. And so, just a no-brainer. Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Excuse me. Okay. So, next week, I am going to be bringing on a guest. And my guest's name is Scott Sutherland. Sunderland. Nothing worse than getting somebody's name wrong. And I first found Scott. I am an advanced student of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, if some of you don't know, is a teacher of meditation and self-healing. And I actually experienced spontaneous emotional healing using one of his meditations. So when something works for me like that, when you're in a terrible, terrible pain, and you can be in terrible emotional pain, and you can't find your way out, and you've been searching for a long time, and all of a sudden there's somebody that teaches you and shows you a way out of that, I was a believer. So after experiencing this with the first time I used one of the meditations, and of course I continued because he had taught me that just because you heal, your neural network in your brain needs to really stick. And so you need to do it over and over and over again. So I was like, oh, this works. I'm going to keep meditating until I make sure that I don't revert back to my old ways. But Scott is also an advanced student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I am a part of their Facebook group. And Scott was helping somebody. I just love people that help in the group who was grieving. And he said, hey, I have this book. It's called Finding Ugly. And I know what you're going through. And grief is just such a huge thing. I'm a Make-A-Wish volunteer. It's one of the things I do to give some, SUM, give some. And I've been a Make-A-Wish volunteer for over 10 years. So I've dealt with parents that have lost their children. And that's not what happened to Scott. I'm going to let Scott tell his story. I don't want to tell too much, but he's experienced tremendous grief in his, as he described it himself, as survivor's grief. And that's when somebody dies and you feel like you should, and it wasn't a child, and you got to read his book. I'll give you a little tidbit. But Scott also healed himself, and he was in a bad state. I don't exactly remember what he had right now, but again, he's going to be on the show next week. He's going to come on with me, and I'm going to let him talk about it, because Finding Ugly was just significant. I was going to review the book without him today, so instead I'm just going to give you a little tidbit of what's going to happen next week instead. And when I reached out to him, and he actually responded, and he goes, no, I want to come on with you. And I'm like, yay, that'll be so much fun. So I really encourage anybody that has a book out there, a soul searching book, or anything that, and you want to be on the show, or you want me to review your book, please let me know, because I'm going to be looking for not just the Jonathan Livingston Seagulls that have sold millions of copies, but for us little people like me, and that we're trying to make a big difference in this beautiful, beautiful world. So I am going to be coming to the end of the show here. I'm going to give another shout out to Anita Morale. Thank you for encouraging me to do this show. Really appreciate you. And I appreciate having the platform of 1 Million Meditators Facebook page to broadcast from. And please join the movement, join the Facebook page, join the movement. When you join the movement on 1 Million Meditators, you get 3 soundtracks that are emailed to you. And then what you do is you choose one of those 15-minute soundtracks. That's what you'll use to meditate with. And then we broadcast in 15-minute increments, like all through the day and night on the 28th, and all over the globe. You don't have an excuse, because, even like Australia starts the day before in our time. And it's only 15 minutes, and you don't have to meditate. You don't have to sit in a cross position or deep breathe if you don't want to. I mean, you can pray, you can use mala beads, whatever makes you feel good. It's just all about dropping down from your mind into your heart, and focusing on I love myself and the planet for 15 minutes. And the people that lead the meditations are just like me. We're just people. We're all volunteers. We do it from our own home. We were all terrified to go live for the first time. Now we're kind of like used to it. And so we just encourage you to be a part of it, because there's the law of oneness, which I will be actually teaching about on my radio show. I do have a radio show on the third Friday of each month with Cornelia Stephanie called Heaven on Earth. And I am going to be teaching about the law of oneness. And I wrote a blog for 1 Million Meditators about the law of oneness on my website, hummingbird-jewel.com. And that's about, when people all focus on the same thing, on the same concept, same time, focusing on I love myself on the planet, you can make change possible. And really, our thoughts are energy, our thoughts are vibrational, and there's just no stronger frequency in the world than love. And so we believe in this law of oneness. And it's not just 1 million meditators that believe this. There's lots of people out there, lots of small groups just like us, and they're doing the same thing. And we have been invited by Unity, and Unity is bringing together groups like 1 million meditators together. And so together, if we just focus on what is good, what is right, and what is love, versus what's going wrong in the world, I really believe we can make lasting change. I hope that you join us. I hope that you join me next Tuesday, 2 o'clock Central Time. This new show is just so exciting to me. There's nothing better than reading and having books that expand our minds and our souls. And I can tell you that I did use books for SOUL-utions in my life. When I was in deep pain, I went to books all through my life. That's what I've taught myself, so many different things, so many different concepts. So, and without books, I don't know where I would be. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed my first show. Give me a shout out. Please make comments what you might like to see, or if you have any ideas, please, I'm open. And of course, if you know of anybody that's written a great book, like it's a friend of yours, and maybe not too many people know about it, or you've written a book, let me know, get a hold of me, and I'll be glad to review it to see if it's going to make the show or not. I will have 52 weeks, so I gotta find some material here to fill up this half-an-hour show. All right, I so love you all, and thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.